Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Daily Word. It's Monday. It's the beginning of a new week, and so I'm glad you could join me for our time together. We had a great weekend and enjoyed the weather as it cooled off a little bit. And so we begin this new week, another beautiful day as we share our lives together. Today is Daily Word number 732 as we continue our journey through Scripture. As always, thank you for being with me and carving out your time to be with me. I do appreciate it. So I've chosen this morning just this one verse, but it's, of course, part of a bigger story. It's probably a story you know well, Jonah and the whale, and it's probably always portrayed for us as a children's story. But it's really not. It really has a lot to teach us. This narrative has many things that are important for us. So we know Jonah, the prophet, kind of defies God and wants to go on his own way. And so God has him, as the story goes, swallowed up, and he's in the belly of a whale. And we hear these words as Jonah is in the belly. I descended to the base of the mountains. The earth with its bars was around me forever. But you have brought up my life from the pit, Lord my God. So it's interesting, this prayer that these verses are a part of is part of the prayer that Jonah prays when he's in the belly of the fish. Jonah, of course, in this moment is in the valley. He's come down from the mountains. He finds himself in this difficult circumstance, to say the least. Jonah, a prophet, close to God, communing with God, and now he is confined to the stomach of a whale. But this verse that we read this morning, and I got to thinking about this earlier this morning when I was eating my breakfast. This verse really is not about Jonah's circumstance. Notice that he says, you have brought my life up. It's easy for us to understand, to read our own understanding into the story. But Jonah, in this text, as he is praying this prayer, is inside the whale. He's still in the pit. His circumstances have not yet approved. And the prayer says, you have, not you will. Do you hear that? But you have brought up my life from the pit, Lord my God. Not you will, but you have. It's interesting that we hear this prayer, this Jonah talking about his circumstances, but he's really talking about in this prayer his perspective. The bars of the earth are this world-centered approach. And Jonah had his own ideas about how God could use him and how God could call him in his life. And he lived it differently rather than God would have him to live. It was that previous perspective that got him in trouble. Disobedience from God was his pit that he lived in. But the circumstances that he finds himself in helps him to change his perspective. Now, just a few verses after this, Jonah is spit out of the whale. But this verse this morning reminds us that he is already risen. His life was brought up because he had a transformed perspective. Sometimes I think for us, we don't need our circumstances to be redeemed as much as we need our perspective to be redeemed. But you have brought up my life from the pit, Lord my God. Jonah's perspective was God already had worked on his behalf. Now, I don't know about you, but Mondays aren't always great. Sometimes it's tough to get started on Monday. You have a big day on Sunday, you have lots going on, and then you have a letdown, you get up. If you're like me, you woke up tired. You woke up with so many things on your plate because a week from today, we'll be on mission trip and have this list, this perspective. My perspective of my list of to-dos is ridiculous. And I get a little overwhelmed by it because, it's bulletins, it's PowerPoints, it's music, it's packing, it's making sure have all the things that we need to take with us to Morgan Scott. It's all these interesting, unique challenges that face us. And my perspective really early this morning was a bit of that, oh geez, man, this week, it's overwhelming. But then I read the scripture again, and I'm reminded that my perspective needs to be altered. I need to trust that God has already up my life from the pit. God's already done it. And a few short verses later, it could be me who's spit out of the belly of the whale, and my life is led to new obedience. And that's what we're called to. And so I hope that you and I would take a deep, hard look at our circumstances, all the things that's on our list, all the things we want to do, and check ourselves for our perspective, our obedience to God, our trusting that God has already done what we need God to do. And we just have to adjust our circumstance to know that our perspective is what needs redemption. And that's a good word, at least for me, as we start out this week and all that there is to accomplish in my life this week before we head to Tennessee. So, thanks for joining me for our time together this Monday morning. As always, thanks for being with me. I hope you'll know of God's love that surrounds you and know of my love for you. And I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Have a great day.